you have a small workshop like I do, it's really just a retooled one-car garage, and I'm just slowly transforming it. You got to be mindful of your space. I just picked up a chop saw, and I needed a permanent place to put it, but still a place that would be mobile and could fit in a small spot when I wasn't using it. I didn't want to buy one of the large commercial tables, and I probably didn't have room for it anyway. So I did a little research, found a great website. I think it's Anna White. I'll put the link in my description, and let me show you what it looks like. So here it is. It's made out of one full piece of plywood, some 1x3s, and some 2x2s, which act as little pleats underneath those shelves to hold it up. And what I like about it are the little side tables, and those aren't just regular hinges. These are locking hinges that I picked up from Woodcraft, and they lock in place when you lift them up. So when we lift both of these up, you're going to see a full operational Mitersaw table, and the table top is meant to be the same height as your saw table there also, so your board's going to go straight across and be in line with that, so you can chop some larger stock that way. And the tables fold down really easily. You just reach underneath and press a little button on the hinges and let them drop. So let's build this thing. Alright, so to make this stand, you're going to need one piece of 4x8 3/4 inch plywood. Now if your vehicle is like mine, it doesn't really accommodate a piece of plywood very well. So to get this thing home, you know, a great tip is the big box stores will cut this stuff down for you. I got this at Lowe's, and I actually had them make all the cuts for me right there for free. So what you do is you take the plywood, you have them cut it in half, so then you have two pieces of 4x8, and then you're going to cut, just remember, on each of them a piece 36 and a piece 30, and then that's going to give you these halves. So you're also going to need one 8-foot 2x2 and a couple of 1x3s. Now the idea here is the two 36-inch pieces will be your sides, and then the 30-inch pieces will be the width for the top and bottom of the stand, and then the other two pieces over there will end up being the wings on this. Alright, so the first step is to put cleats underneath where this shelf will go, and we're going to do that by using a 2x2 that is the width of the stand, or the depth I should say, and it's going to be attached to the side, and then that shelf is going to rest on that. Now the measurement for how high your shelf is really just depends on your saw. To determine how far down your shelf should go, you need to know the measurement from the saw table itself down to the workbench, or whatever, what we're building, the table. You got to know that height there, and then that's how far down you want the cleat to go to, not the actual table piece of plywood you're going to put on it, but the cleat itself. The reason for that is the wings will rise up one piece of plywood width on top, over top of the table, which will then give you that exact measurement once again. Alright, and the distance for my table is 3.5. So at the top of my table here, I've measured 3.5 and marked it, 3.5 and marked it, and I'll just draw a straight line with the straight edge. With the line drawn, now I'll just line up this cleat and attach it just like I did the other. The cleats that go on the bottom, and I've got this board laid over flat on this work table here, they need to be flush with the bottom of the plywood, not like that. But what I like to do is take a pleat like that, and then I've got some glue right here. I'm gonna put it in place, and I use that other pleat to help make sure that it's flush, and that just gives me a nice flush edge. I'm going to use some clamps, and then I'm going to use a couple of brads, and then I'm going to put some wood screws in it. So these are my tabletops, and I was just finishing putting in the last of my pocket holes. You can see I've got this kind of dry fitted up here for the table, and I've put about 5 pocket holes in. They're resting on the pleats that we installed just a little while ago, and I'm gonna nail them down, glue them, and put a pocket hole in it just so they're a little extra strong. This is gonna be the bottom shelf, and it's gonna go down there just like up there. If you don't have a pocket hole jig, you can just use wood screws, but if you don't have a pocket hole jig, you need to get one. It's really a great tool. You can check out my other video where I reviewed this particular one. It's the Craig Pocket Hole Junior kit. Anyway, great tool for joining. So the basic structure of the Mitersaw stand is complete. I put in the face plates here. On the front, I just glued and Brad nailed these in on both. But on the back, let me walk around. On the back, I wood screwed some of them in just for a little extra strength. And I figure with the pocket hole screws holding it pretty much everywhere, this thing is pretty stable. And I'm going to also probably put a shelf across the middle. So there we go. All that's left now is the caster wheels and the fold-up flap wings, which I'm going to use. Never tried these before. Shelf bracket. They're foldable. This is what the plan recommended. Got those at Woodcraft, and we'll see how that goes. So next is the caster wheels. Wheels. The last step is adding these side tables and putting the hinges on, and that's pretty straightforward, so I've gone ahead and done that. These are locking hinges from Woodcraft. They're a little bit pricey. They're about $15 for a pair. I do think they're worth it because you can just so easily lift these up and lock them into place. Fold down pretty easy. Give you a shot of what they look like, and then there's just little release buttons at the end of the hinge that makes them pop back down. Real simple. The only thing you want to keep in mind of is when you install these things, make sure the hinges are flush at the top. So the side table is even with your saw table there. And if you've done it correctly with measurements of your cleat behind here, and then the thickness of the plywood here, and then the thickness of this plywood, it should all add up pretty correctly anyway. So those are the hinges. Really like the way that works versus some kind of flip down support beam. Alright, so it's been a couple of months since I finished this Mitersaw stand. I wanted to give a little time between completion and using it so I could give some last minute advice. And I have to say, really like this stand. It's a great plan. I use the saw all the time. I like the mobility of it with the large caster wheels. It's so easy to pull out and when I need to use it to get distance from the wall, but then be able to push back so quickly. I really like the side tables. These things popping up and locking and being the same height as the table is really a nice touch, and they fold back down just as easily. If I were going to give any advice, I would say, if you were trying to save some money, cut some corners, only put one side table on there. I rarely pull this one up. I'd have to take it outside to do it. I just don't use that many large goods to need it. But I'm glad I did it. But if you were trying to save some money, and those hinges are expensive, those locking top hinges, you could probably cut that out. But other than that, you got a nice storage here down here. I still need to put a shelf. Other than that, it's a great build, and it is serving me well, and it was pretty ridiculously inexpensive to build. So thanks for watching this tutorial, and enjoy building yours.